Okay, NS5-21, multiples of 10. What product does each picture represent? So you can see here that we have 3 circles with 2 items in each circle, 2, 4, 6. And if you remember, the word product means the answer to a multiplication statement. So we have 3 groups with 2 in each, and that equals 6 items. Next, we have 3 groups again, but this time, instead of 2 individual blocks, we have rods of 10. So what that means that in each oval here, we have 20 items. So 20, 40, 60. And we really have 3 groups of 20, which now equals 60 instead of 6. So moving on, we have 3 groups of 3 times 200, and they'd like us to draw a picture for that. So to represent 100, we use flats. So we have 1 group with 2 flats, each representing 100, for a total of 200 inside the circle. And we need 3 circles with 2 flats in each, or 2 flats representing 100. So that's 200. And now we have 400 and 600. So 3 groups of 200 equals 600. And then they would like us to do the same thing for 1,000. I'm just going to show you what 1 circle would look like, because it takes a little while to draw our cubes. These are our 1,000 cubes. So we would have 2,000 in each circle. We would have 3 circles. And so that would be 6,000, because we would have 2,000 and then another 2,000, right? And another 2,000. And when we add that up or multiply 3 times 2,000, we get 6,000. So here they have sort of a summary. It says, do you see a pattern in the pictures that correspond to these number sentences? So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 20 is 60. So hopefully you'll notice that it has also a 6 in it, and 3 times 200 is 600, has a 6 in it. And then 3 times 2,000 is 6,000, so there we have another 6. You might also recognize that in the number 20, there's 1 0, and there's a 0 in 60. In 3 times 200, the number 200 has 2 zeros, and in 600, there are 2 zeros. So 3 times 200 is 600. And hopefully you'll also notice that there are 3 zeros in 2,000, and in 6,000 there are also 3 zeros. So if you remember back when the last lesson, when we were talking about multiples of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, when we multiply by 10, we add 1 0 because to the end of the number. So for example, 6 times 10 would be 60, and we would be 1 times 6 is 6. And then we would add the 0 onto the end because there's a 0 in 10. Well, here we're seeing a similar pattern. We know 3 times 2 is 6, so we multiply 3 times 2, we put our 6 down, and then we have our 1 0 added on. 3 times 2 is 6, and then we take our 2 zeros and we add it on to the end. 3 times 2 is 6, and we take our 3 zeros and we add it on to the end. So think about it. What is 5 times 3? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. How can you use this to find 5 times 300? Well, since we know that 5 times 3, so since 5 times 3 equals 15, and 300 has 2 zeros, and zeros is spelled O-E-S, then we add 2 zeros after the 15 to get 1,500. So that's just an explanation of what we would do. We know that 3 times 5 is 15. We know that 300 has 2 zeros, so we're going to add the 2 zeros after the 15 to get our 1,500. So let's try that out. Here we have 400 times 2. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the two whole numbers that I'm going to use to multiply. And I know that 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'm going to take the two zeros and I'm going to put them at the end. 3 and 8 are the two numbers that I'm going to multiply. 3 times 8 is 24. I'm going to take the 1 0 and add it on to the end. 6 times 9 equals 54. I'm going to take the 3 zeros from the 6,000 and add them onto the end of my 54 to get 54,000. So hopefully you get the idea there. Here we have zeros in both sides of the multiplication statement. So we have 500 times 40, and both of them have zeros. So we're going to find the two numbers that we do know how to multiply. So 5 times 4 is 20. And then we're going to take the two zeros and the 1 0 and put them together. So that's 3 zeros all together. And those get added onto the end to get 20,000. Show it again. Find the two numbers that you're going to multiply together. So 6 times 5 is 30. And then we take the zeros from both numbers and add them onto the end. So 60 has 1 0, 5,000 has 3 zeros. That's a total of 4 zeros. And if you can plan it, you need to make sure that you're still creating a separation between groups of 3. So 300,000 is our answer. Here we have 2 zeros and 3 zeros. So we're going to need to add 5 zeros onto the end of our question. I'm going to just put those in there right now so that I can leave my gap. 7 times 9 is 63. So 6,300,000 is the answer. So hopefully you were able to follow along with that, and you're going to now complete the activity for NS5-21.